Welcome to MTN Outdoors.
All right, welcome back to another episode of MTN Outdoors. Spring is definitely here. We can tell because in these lower elevations, and I don't mean too low because we're at about 4,500 feet here, it's rain. But if you were to look behind me there, those clouds back up in those mountains, you can guess that there's probably some snow happening there, maybe some mix happening, but it's been a wet week, and up in those mountains with that snowpack, more snowpack means maybe a better fire season. So we have that to look forward to. Maybe we'll have a easy fire season this year. With MTN Outdoors, I'm Keith Grevenitz.
Sometimes in Montana we go right from winter to summer, but this year, when all is said and done, you could say we had a spring, and a very close one to average at that. So far this season, Montana has experienced rain, mountain snow, sunshine, thunderstorms, warm stretches, cold stretches, with some wetter than normal and drier than normal places. Helena is more than an inch above normal for the year, with 4.09 inches of precipitation to a normal of 2.88. Great Falls has had 5.06 inches, which is about a quarter of an inch above normal. Havre is slightly above normal. Lewistown is almost a half inch below normal. Glasgow almost an inch and a half below normal, and Cutbank is dry with less than half of the normal 2.20 inches of precipitation. Slightly more than 50% of the state is in some level of drought, but looking deeper into the numbers, some of the drought is residual from last year. The Standardized Precipitation Index is a widely used index to characterize drought on a range of timescales. The 2-year SPI shows deeper drought along and west of the Continental Divide. The 180-day SPI, essentially, since the beginning of this year, shows pockets of dry areas in northern Montana, but a very wet south-central section. Over the last 60 days, essentially this spring, northern Montana around the Golden Triangle, the Sweetgrass Hills, and along and north of the Missouri River has been dry, but southern Montana very wet. Spring is not over yet, but when all is said and done, hopefully we all can say we had a pretty average spring and a good one. And now you're a little more weather-wise.
With warmer weather and spring showers, the potential for flooding is just around the corner. And there are impacts of flooding that aren't necessarily visible. Attendees of the Professionals of Infection Control Montana Conference are preparing for just that.
We want to be prepared for what's next. We want to be prepared if there's a flood, another flood. We want to be prepared when things happen.
Disease prevention experts, nurses, other medical staff, and the state health department gather to share their emergency response plans for flood, diseases, or water quality management. Simulation in Motion Montana, along with the Association of Professionals in Infection Control Montana, led a tabletop exercise.
Give them challenges and questions to work through what their plans say, but so much of this is based on how well entities can coordinate and communicate between themselves.
Each year, the simulation at the conference is based on a different emergency that intersects with infection. This year was all about waterborne pathogens, specifically in relation to flooding.
Conferences like this help us conceptualize those types of scenarios and work through our responses, and so we know ahead of time what we're going to do.
Floods can contribute to the spread of diseases by contaminating water sources, and the best way to avoid this is to ensure the water you are drinking is free of contaminants through safe storage, boiling, and filtration. Also, have a contingency plan to get out of the flood zone.
We love helping folks increase their capability and confidence in responding to the vast realm of things that folks in these types of jobs deal with.
As communities across the Treasure State face these potential risks, safety is not just measured by response, but by preparedness. In Helena, I'm Madeline Heath, MTN News.
After a long winter, many are antsy to hit the lake or jump in the river. Whether just for a swim or getting the boat out for some wake surfing, cold water could spell trouble for the unprepared.
We've been cooped up in the wintertime the entire time, but the fact of the matter is that the gauges on all of our rivers and all of our waterways still indicate that temperatures are in the 40s and 50s.
In a time when cold plunges and ice baths are all the rage, some might think that the 40s and 50s are a cinch. But outside of a controlled environment, the effects of the cold can be shocking. As warning coordination meteorologist Maura Casey tells me, water can cool your body temperature at a dangerous pace.
Because water has a much higher thermal inertia, it takes the heat out of your body a lot quicker than air does. In fact, it takes the heat out of your body about 25 times faster than air.
That drop in body temperature can shock the body. 70 degrees is considered room temperature. Some, like me, might even find that hot at times. But as Casey tells me, exposure to water temps lower than that can cause hypothermia.
Water below 60 degrees can result in incapacitation, and that's loss of muscular control of your hands, your arms, your legs. So it's really hard to swim, and it's really hard to keep yourself afloat in water when you're physically incapacitated.
Water below 50 degrees could mean instant cold water shock. That's where the real danger comes in. Dramatic changes in breathing, heart rate, blood pressure. The body typically responds with a gasp of air. That's not good if you're in the water. The bigger the contrast in air and water temperatures, the more dramatic the cold water shock can be.
So that's where we really encourage people to wear their PFEs, their personal flotation equipment, and that's a life jacket. So if they do fall in the water, if they're rafting, because it happens sometimes, you get tossed in a rapid, at least you can float. At least you can, if you are physically incapacitated, if you do go into shock, it'll keep your head above water.
We know some won't be able to stay away from the water, but if you can't resist, stay safe with a life jacket. From Helena, I'm Keith Grevenitz, MTN News.
You're watching MTN Outdoors. We'll be right back.
We now return to MTN Outdoors.
Welcome back to MTN Outdoors. Spring is here, the seasons are changing, and that means a new set of activities and a new set of opportunity to enjoy these lands of Montana. Check out these videos.
When springtime comes around, most of you hikers want to get out there and hit the trailheads, but I'm here to tell you, hit the brakes. Just remember that the bottom of the trails can look like this, while the top of the trails can look like this. Would you say springtime is usually a good time to go hiking here?
Yeah, I think this is probably the best time. School's out for college and there's not a lot of tourists yet.
I ran into Tommy, an avid recreator in the Bozeman area. Although spring is Tommy's favorite time to hike, he says this season does come with concerns.
Kind of like the unseen, kind of out of nowhere weather systems that come in. Things can happen at any time.
Because while Tommy is hiking up one side of the Bridgers, Matt is shredding down the other. Would you say it's still the perfect time for skiing?
Absolutely. I'm out here skinning up Bridger and skiing down. I did 4 laps on the Bridger lift area.
Matt tells me there's some serious snow when you get to those higher elevations.
Like Bronco Face, it's getting to be like a foot to a few inches, but other places, I'm sure it's 3 or more feet.
And when people aren't prepared for these conditions,
a lot of times what people do is they get tired or they think that they can take a shortcut and they bail off the trail, and then they are faced with, a couple of feet of snow and they're wearing shorts and tennis shoes. That's what leads to us getting called.
Gallatin County Search and Rescue Captain Matt Boxmeyer says this is exactly what happened May 3rd. Around 6:30 p.m., the sheriff's office received a call. An individual stranded on Baldy Mountain after attempting a shortcut from the Bridger Ridge Trail towards Sipes Canyon. That's when they encountered waist-deep snow. After trudging through the snow in shorts and a t-shirt for a period of time, they experienced injuries and had to call for help.
And so the decision was made that it would be easiest to just fly a helicopter up and pick him up, and so that's what we did.
The rescue was successful and the individual did not require any further medical attention. But Boxmeyer tells me these types of rescues are frequent this time of the year. So he urges recreators,
throw a coat in, layer up, bring layers with you, bring a backpack, make sure you have water, food, and a way to communicate.
As well as checking trail conditions online via hiking apps or Facebook hiking groups. Advice hikers like Tommy agree with.
Pack for it. I mean, even if it's like a 20 or 30 minute hike, it could turn into a 2 or 3 or 4 hour hike depending on kind of whatever happens to you, so just be prepared.
In Bozeman, Cassidy Powers, MTN News.
National Parks Traveler magazine notes that the most popular parks, like Yellowstone, seem to be suffering very little compared to less popular parks after cuts initiated by the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE.
So far, so good. It was nice. We got here yesterday. No problem on traffic. No problem getting in the park. You zip right through.
And that's just what I saw at the most popular entrance at West Yellowstone this past week. In a recent memo, Acting Park Service Director Jessica Bowron told park superintendents to prioritize activities that deliver the greatest benefit to visitors, adding, quote, "Work that does not directly contribute to these priorities should be adjusted, scaled back, or deferred." But in a letter to the Interior Secretary, 5 former National Park Service directors and 13 former deputy directors say that resource protection and research is suffering as a result. Writing, "We are concerned that not just parks and visitors, but local economies that rely on visitor spending will suffer." That doesn't seem to be the case in Yellowstone, where I saw Park Service workers actively investigating the Biscuit Basin area where an explosion happened last summer.
There's a lot of enthusiasm for still coming to this area. There's a lot of questions about always, are we open and how are things going? And we just reiterate everything that the park has put out, and that we're open, we're here, it's fully staffed.
We've seen that the park seems to be adequately staffed. There are rangers on duty here at the visitor center. Facilities are running and appear to be clean. And we've even seen a work crew. However, the park isn't talking too much about that, aside from an off-camera chat briefly with Superintendent Cam Shawley. Every single request we've made to speak with someone from the park since the beginning of January has been declined.
In the tourism industry, we're used to seeing about a 6 to sometimes 12-month travel where people, are scheduling and getting excited about their trips. But I feel like with a little bit of the uncertainty with international right now and kind of where the government is at, and, just bringing in a new administration, it feels like the booking windows are shortening. So sometimes it's a month lead or even a few weeks. If a family sees the gas prices have dropped, then they're going to travel.
Tina and her husband did bump into that staffing problem the National Parks Association is talking about.
I went to Little Bighorn, so to see the Custer's Battlefield. So that was the National Park Service app said it was open. I called ahead of time, said it was open from 9 to 5. When we got there, it was closed. So it's only open Monday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's it.
The Park Service lists 10 park units in Montana. Only 2 are large national parks, Glacier and Yellowstone. In Yellowstone National Park, I'm John Shearer, MTN News.
One of the big efforts Fish, Wildlife, and Parks takes on each year is its education programs. Hunter and bow hunter and trapper education courses are offered throughout the year, and each one of those takes trained instructors. Right now, FWP looking to add some names to its list of volunteers of those instructors.
Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, we're always looking for people who are willing to volunteer in some capacity in hunter, bow hunter, or trapper education. Right now is a great time to sign on to that. We just finished our spring wave of hunter education classes, and we're planning for classes that are going to be happening in the summer and the fall. And so now is a great time to sign up and get trained so that this coming fall you can help us with our next wave of hunter education students who are preparing to enter the field.
Jacobson says FWP works around volunteers' time constraints, and they've made it easy to become an instructor.
The process for becoming certified is pretty simple. In fact, Montana is one of the simplest states in the country when it comes to becoming a hunter education instructor. There's an application form, and we run a background check on applicants, and then once that process is done, there's some online training that they do. And then once they enter the classroom, there's kind of a one-year probationary period where they teach alongside instructors who've been doing it for some time.
Jacobson notes you don't have to have a degree in education to become a volunteer. All you need is a passion for the sport and a willingness to share that passion with the next generation. Contact your regional headquarters for more information and an application. At Region 3 headquarters in Bozeman, Chet Lehman, MTN News.
You're watching MTN Outdoors.
Stay tuned for more Montana Magic.
We now return to MTN Outdoors.
All right, welcome back. We're here with MTN Outdoors, and outside, it's very gray outside today, but there are flowers that are blooming, and the trees are all bloom here. It is quite beautiful to be in Montana. We had a very warm weekend last weekend, but this weekend, it's settling into that rainy weather. Hopefully we'll get a break soon. Stay tuned for more videos.
I bet you didn't know that May was Adopt a Horse Month, and although this sweet girl right here isn't up for adoption, she's a good example of what it means to take care of a horse, which is what the ASPCA is currently highlighting with their Adopt a Horse campaign.
It's been so gratifying to see these horses in their new homes.
Back in January, nearly 100 Morgan horses were seized from a breeding operation in Madison County. Many were underweight, injured, or suffering from neglect. Since then, the ASPCA, or American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, along with local partners, have been working to rehab and rehome them. And now 62 have already found new homes.
Everything from, a young 2 or 3 year old horse who has her whole life ahead of her to these senior mares that just needed somewhere soft to land towards the end of their life. And just the love and attention that they're getting has been really gratifying to see.
ASPCA Vice President of Equine Welfare Christy Schultz-Kappert says while many have been adopted, some of the other horses are still needing extra care.
They're horses and they're big animals. They need those specific needs. They need to be seen by a farrier and by a veterinarian. And a lot of them did have similar issues because of those needs not getting addressed for a while.
And that's why the ASPCA is using May to raise awareness.
Whether you have a horse or may want a horse in the future or just like horses, to focus on equine adoption and how powerful it is as a way to get good horses in need into good homes.
Christy says for those with little to no horse experience but an interest in adoption, the best first step is getting involved with either volunteering at a local shelter or even signing up for lessons at a nearby barn.
Learn, what it takes day to day to take care of a horse. They'll meet lots of other horse people and then can sort of make their way into finding a veterinarian and a farrier and these other professionals.
For more information on horse adoption and animal cruelty resources, visit our website. In Bozeman, Megan Elaine, MTN News.
So this looks like a pike minnow.
I mean, this is how kids are supposed to learn, in my opinion.
Hands-on learning was on full display during the 36th Annual Family Forestry Expo in Flathead County. Katie Haas teaches 5th grade at Edgerton Elementary in Kalispell and was excited to share Montana's beautiful outdoors with her students.
Some of these kids have never been in this sort of environment, and it's really fun letting them be kids and play and learn in the way that Montanans have always been learning.
Students visit stations that provide educational presentations about forest management, wildlife, fisheries, and more.
How do we act? How do we as people act in the forest? How do we use the products from the forest responsibly?
For 36 years, Deb Starling has been working and volunteering at the Family Forestry Expo, helping teach the next generation of Montanans.
And to see their interest in natural resources in this wonderful place that we all get to call home is just pretty darn special.
More than 1,200 5th graders from all over northwest Montana take part in the fun, like seeing this portable sawmill up close in action.
It was really cool. I've never really seen one of them work. I've seen them before, but I haven't seen it actually saw the wood. So it was really interesting to watch.
Fortine Elementary 5th grader Credence Cassis had a blast being outside with her friends.
You learn about more things, and if you don't know too much about it, it's awesome to come out here and learn more about it.
In Columbia Falls, Sean Wells, MTN News.
New life was just planted on the slopes of Lolo Peak, and while you might not be able to see the results for many years, soon the mountainside will be full of new trees.
Our passion is helping connect people back to forests and creating those healthy and sustainable relationships between people and the landscape.
Look up from Highway 93 and you'll see large scars. Reminders of the 2017 Lolo Peak fire, which burned almost 54,000 acres.
Specifically in this landscape, it took out 95% of the trees.
Plus, you may notice ski runs, that never see skiers or snowboarders.
A previous landowner had the goal of creating a ski resort. He ran into some hurdles trying to get the permits to actually operate the ski resort, and eventually the project just fell flat.
To restore these slopes of Lolo Peak, Montana Forest Consultants, American Forests, Montana DNRC, and local landowners joined forces. And now, at least 150,000 ponderosa pines are finding a new home on the mountain.
The trees were actually donated to us by the Montana DNRC and American Forests.
The reforestation effort has many goals.
This will ideally, A, help bring elk populations back into the area, provide a little more cover for them, and then B, of course, trees also help sequester carbon,
including learning from the Lolo Peak fire's destruction.
That was primarily Douglas fir and some other species that kind of overcrowded these forests.
And preparing the area for future fire seasons.
We're planting in spacings between 10 to 15 feet.
Crews will be working on the mountainside for a few weeks, so that in years, the forest will be full of living trees again.
I hope that one day I can bring my grandkids out to some of these projects and they can see the benefits of what we've done.
Montana Forest Consultants has hundreds of thousands of trees ready for planting and is looking to work with landowners across the Bitterroot. In Lolo, Emily Brown, MTN News.
So, again, I don't know if you can see, it's probably out of focus there, but a lot of clouds in those mountains. That rain is coming down here in the valley, and in those mountains, it's coming in snow. So let's keep our fingers crossed that there is some extra snowpack and extra wetlands so that we can have a mild fire season. We don't want to be breathing in that smoke. It smells like a campfire, but it kind of loses its charm when it's choking you. Thanks for watching MTN Outdoors. We'll see you back here next week.